Howdy, 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 and thank you for joining me tonight. Tonight was going to be a really good one. We got a great special guest on here tonight. Been watching a lot of his live content, and I think we're going to have a great chat about what's been going on. But you guys know how it works around here. It's Sunday night. We always do things a certain way, so let's bring in our old pal, Clearwater Chad. Hey,
Hi,
Chad.
Bo. How you doing?
Doing good, brother. Doing good. You got that weather report for us?
Absolutely, Poe. 59 degrees in Clearwater, Buffalo. 5% precipitation, Poe. The wind is at 8. And Roscoe advises from the Sky Chopper, Poe. 65% humid.
That little monster, he's just been tearing stuff up lately. He can tell spring's right around the corner. My goodness, Roscoe is on a mission now. If the wind blows, he's trying to kill it. So, oh my gosh. So, folks, a lot of things been going on lately here in the world of SPTV. We got the Squirrel Squad out in Los Angeles. We've got the squad down in Clearwater, Florida. But we also have a number of First Amendment auditors and peaceful protesters that are out there that are documenting Scientology in the fight against Scientology. And they're doing it from different places all over the world. And primarily, one of them has been in the spotlight as of late because, well, he saw what Scientology is willing to do and he didn't back down. So that's why I've really been trying to get him on for a little while here. Busy as could be. It seems like the guy's doing lives pretty much every day, but he has a great channel over there. He does some great content, and he actually showed us what Scientology will do. And without further ado, let's bring in our friend Jay, Denver Scientology Audit. How we doing, Jay?
Howdy, folks. Good to be here. Thank you for having me on, Poe and Clearwater Chad. Good seeing you. Hope you're well.
Thank you. And you got another pretty famous First Amendment auditor out there. Matthew the King is here.
Matthew, good to see you. I'm glad to have you in chat. I'm glad to see you out here as well.
Yeah, he does a lot. See him out there with Nasty quite a bit. And everybody, Laura Waldy gifted 5 memberships. So if you're one of those folks who are fortunate enough to get one of those memberships, make sure you show some love to Laura there. One of my awesome mods, and just great people. I really enjoy having them on my team here. They really make it so much easier for me. So Jay, who is Denver Scientology Audits? Who are you?
So I'm just a younger guy who recently found out about Scientology. I'd say at this point it's probably been about approaching 6 months now. And it all started with, most of us, how we binge watch YouTube. And I ended up on Streets LA, his page, just kind of through one of his YouTube shorts of the Hollywood Testing Center, and just kind of some of their odd behavior that they would display out in public on the sidewalks. So that led me to his live streams, and just watching for a bit. Pretty much there was one evening where a former Scientologist, Laura Anderson, also goes by Laura FM here on YouTube.
Yep.
She had been out protesting that evening at the testing center, and there was a point where, they had walked around the building or whatever, and she had saw her dad and called out to her father with deep passion and emotion, and with desire to catch his attention, and in hopes to get a response, nothing came of that for her, unfortunately, but it did inspire me, and it did cause me to go down the rabbit hole, and wanting to learn more and educating myself first, like in terms of what I'm looking at, why is this emotion so deep, and why was it so raw and true? Who is Laura Anderson, and what's her story? And after finding out her story, that was kind of my fall down the rabbit hole of my awareness level being heightened to the point of having to utilize my voice, and in an appropriate, positive way, in attempts to.
Excellent. Now I see you're like I have out here. You've got the extremes just like we do. You have the extreme winter, and you have the very hot summers. And how has that been for you doing the First Amendment auditing of Denver Scientology?
Well, thankfully, started auditing towards the end of the season for winter. So I only had experience a few times where it was pretty bitter, and having to suit up and layer up, wearing insulated gloves and whatnot, carrying an umbrella to keep snow off your equipment and stuff like that. Just
Oh,
trying to be proactive like that, but. Um, I totally forgot about the power of the sun of Colorado. We're
yeah.
literally 1 mile closer to the sucker. So I, it's pretty much, first day of spring, whatever. I'm in my shorts. I forget sunscreen, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
paid the piper. I was reminded very quickly of the importance of SPF out here in Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, but it's I've recently been heating up pretty good. Today was getting into the 80s, just breaking 80 degrees. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to get like some foam coolers. I know DOA has little like heat sinks,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Peltier, with the little Peltier uh, patch and whatever. It kind of like transmits the heat and whatever.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure my phone will not
I tell you,
survive those temperatures while live streaming and charging.
I've been driving with, and we both got the Samsung Galaxies. I've been driving
Yeah,
and had mine literally say phone is overheating, and have to literally turn on the air conditioning in the car, put the phone up on whatever vent I could get it stuck to, just so it could cool it
yeah,
down enough to operate. So I know how you feel there. So,
yeah. The phones do not like the heat. They will pretty much close the application. They will say, you know what? Actually, I'm going to turn your phone off. You're now no longer able to use it, depending on how bad it gets.
oh yeah,
So, I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's a reasonable safety measure, but just got to figure out how to be proactive and stay ahead of that stuff.
oh yeah. I got to tell you, as growing up, I'm from the Appalachia. All my family run deep in the Appalachian Smoky Mountains area. And, so for us, that we called them hills, but people call them mountains. I had never seen real mountains till I got out there out west and saw the Rockies and all that out there. And you're like, whoa, those are mountains. What we got really are
Yeah,
hills down in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Georgia, and all that. And
yeah.
yeah, you guys are up there, that's for sure.
And it's incredible because you see the front range, and that's one part of it, and then you go over those initial mountains, and there's a whole nother vastness of like mountainous depth that you can explore, and it's pretty incredible. And yeah, I can't be more thankful for the place I live. It's been quite beautiful my time out here. Um,
But yeah, and I got to tell you though, when I got to go to South America and got to experience the mountains down there in Chile and some of the different countries down there, and then getting over into Asia and seeing all of the different kinds of mountains there, and then you get up into
yeah,
Nepal, Tibet, and those places, and it's amazing how
yeah,
people I start going into those high elevations and suddenly I can't breathe. It's like I'm suffocating. And there are
right.
people up there just their everyday life enjoying it. And I'm just like, I don't know how in the world you guys do that. So
Yeah, that is pretty incredible to bear those circumstances like daily as a living situation.
yeah.
Jay, I lived in
And
Denver 25 years.
oh, here, I'll put it back up. It's Dustin
Uh,
Soda Fountain. If he's from down there in Clearwater, great guy. Does the 1A auditing down there at Flag and at the Fort Harrison. Lived in Denver 25 years. Appreciate you being out
wow,
there
wow.
very much. The Clearwater crew love you dearly. Thank you.
Heck yeah, much love to y'all as well. Thank you, thank you. It's very
And
kind.
that's one of the awesome things about this community is how much, we're all on different sides of the country. Chad's up there in Buffalo, New York, near Niagara Falls. You got Dustin's all the way down in Clearwater, Florida. You're out in Denver. Then we got DOA and Laura and that crew are out there in LA. And then we just, let me pull it back up. We just had someone that was just talking about they're in Portland, Oregon, and how the weather is out there, and that's the awesome thing. And then you start looking in the chat, we got folks from the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, so we
Yeah,
Norway, Switzerland. They're all over the world, and everybody is
it's
focused on the
beautiful.
same thing. Yeah.
It is
And
so cool to
that's
see.
what I love. There's no, well, I'm the biggest. I'm the biggest. No, no, everybody's just like, you know what? The more the merrier. Let's all just have a good time. So,
Yeah,
oh, here we go. Marion and Bays. I'm in the UK. So, and
glad to have you.
I- Marion, you guys are what? Are you 6 or 8 hours ahead of us out there? Just throw it in the chat for us. Let's see here. We got Mona from Jersey City, New Jersey. So, I mean, that'll just
Nice. Yeah,
give you an idea. So, it's awesome. Oh,
yeah.
here, you familiar with Joel McCoyne?
Yes, Joel. Good to see you, Joel. He's a local uh, geographical historian, not literally, but he comes
Right.
into chat and he'll drop some geography, history in terms of local history. So he's always been an awesome member of the community. Good to see you.
Oh,
Glad you're here tonight.
it's always great having him here. He's been watching you since you started. You've come a long way in a short
Yes,
time. Good job, young man. So,
yes, I recognize you. Thank you for your support, being there from the beginning. That's very kind.
so how old are you, Jay?
I'm going to be 30 years of age here in the coming future.
Yeah, so still
Uh,
right there in the prime early years, that's for sure. Yeah, a couple old men like me and Chad here, we remember him back to the days of being 30. So you got it. Um, and that's the thing.
yeah,
You do you. Enjoy your life. That's the big thing. And
right. Like I'm not going to have this opportunity pretty much to be able to do it to this degree or this level. I will never have this opportunity again. So it's got to just
absolutely.
seize the moment while it's there, rather than letting it slip. Um,
And
so yeah,
that's the but here it is. I'm 55 years old. I'm retired now. And the great thing about it is that I can now that I'm retired, is I can start focusing on more doing the traveling and doing things like that. So,
yeah,
it'll come back around. You just never, at 55, there's no way I'm in the kind of shape I was in when I was in my early 20s to my 30s. And, I'll be honest. I mean, I feel like taking a nap almost every day, about 4 hours after I wake up. But, the thing is you'll have the chance again. You just have to, enjoy it now while you can, because it's going to
yeah.
be, once you finally settle down and you start having kids, then suddenly, you got to make sure where your priorities are at.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. It's mom's probably in chat. She's probably loving exactly what you're saying right now. She had notifications on. Yes, Mama Bear, I see you. She's Texas Whispers in chat.
oh, okay,
Um,
all right.
yeah.
Hey,
Good to see
Mama,
you, mother.
you said Texas
That's a beautiful.
Whispers.
Yes, Texas Whispers. Um,
Find her here. Let's see.
yeah.
There she
Jen,
is.
good to see you, Jen. Good to see everybody.
That's awesome. It's good, because most of the time when we see you, you're out there on the streets. We don't get a lot of chances to see you, sitting back and relaxing for a little bit. So,
Yeah.
what is the normal time that they are that you're out there doing it, that you're doing your
So,
auditing?
yeah, good question. A little while back, PTS for Life, Jeff, I'm sure you've heard of him. He had released the scheduling of the Class 5 orgs. So,
Hmm.
generally speaking, from what I understand, the staff members are called for muster like at 8:45, no later than, and um, and then the building would open at 9 o'clock. That's when publics would start to show up. So then I'm pretty much there from around 8 to 10 in the mornings, and then I'll end stream because that's about when another time zone, a different class 5 org will then kind of be going through that same period of muster public. So rather than just staying live and having a parking lot being filmed and seeing one or two people come, for the next
Right.
hours, I already know that the majority of the people entered the building. So then the next time would be at lunch and like around 1:30 to noon to 1:30, and then 6 o'clock, and yeah. They have
I
a whole
noticed,
schedule, so it's pretty structured, and it's easy to kind of like catch them as they're coming and going.
and I've noticed, like from watching yours, and then Nasty Nathaniel and a few others, that one of the things we're seeing is how much Scientology lies about things, how they say that they're rapidly growing and things like that. But you're out there, and we see that parking lot stays pretty empty for the most part. You don't see a lot of public coming through there. So how
Very
does
true,
that?
Poe.
What does that feel like? I mean, you're out there, you're exposing them for what they are, and it's proof. You're showing the receipts that they're lying to everyone. How does that feel, sitting out there and trying to do your First Amendment auditing and no one comes? That's got to be crazy.
I know some days it is so slow, and I feel like it's been getting slower and slower since
Hmm.
the Curtis incident. There was an odd bit of like burst staffing, a whole bunch of new staff, a whole bunch of just all new faces that were like coming in from who knows where. And that lasted for about like maybe 2 weeks or a little bit more. And since then, I've noticed it kind of been going back to normal. So what normal would be is like 6 staff members, maybe the equivalent amount of publics. You're talking about 12 cars in the parking lot of a 50,000 square foot building. You know what I mean? It's this is the oldest brick building downtown Denver. It's massive. It's got an elevator. Like it's got a
That's
garden
crazy.
level, 3 story. It is, but it is frustrating, but at the same time validating to know that they are not expanding because. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
able to see it for what it is. I'm sure everybody who watches the live stream also is able to see it for what it is. Helping the people walking into the building, though, understand from what it is because they've probably seen the same faces for God knows how many years. Like they may see one new face come and go, and that's literally coming and going, not staying. So,
Yeah.
I mean, helping them understand that it's not just your org that's empty. It's not just, Portland. It's
It's
not just
all of them.
Denver. It's all of them across the country are empty, and probably across the world at this point. They're just slowly losing grip on because all their tactics are out of L. Ron Hubbard's playbook from what the 50s and 60s. Like we're we are way past that. We're
Oh yeah.
way past that type of technology.
It's amazing. They're still using fax machines, and I believe they call them telex machines and that kind of stuff. Someone was, and I'm hearing it on my end too. There's some crackle coming in on your volume there,
Um,
so you might want to check your connection. Make sure you're good on that. Video is looking fine, but yeah, I'm hearing some crackle from your when you're talking there. But yeah, it's amazing to me. I
um,
went when I,
is this
yeah,
any better, Poe? Can you let me know if we're kind of better now? See if we're
it,
getting any crackle out of this, and hopefully it's still going.
we're just gonna, it's still there, but we're just gonna have to deal with it. It's just how it
I like.
is.
Sorry, Paul. I like the crackle. It reminds me when I'm eating Rice Krispies, Paul. Feels a
The,
little terrible.
when when I was
All right,
in,
we're gonna roll
I
with the
did a
punches,
live.
guys. Bear with me. I've been having audio issues for about a week now, so as long as y'all are able to, work with us, that'd be greatly appreciated.
As long as we can still hear you, that's the main thing. I'm gonna kick your volume up just a little bit because you were running a little high there for a second, but now let me see here. Okay, try it now.
I'm very sorry about that. It seemed like we had it squared away, but just it lost it for some reason. But that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's
we all
that's
understand.
that's live streaming. The other night, I was going to go live. I had Nashville was supposed to come on here. Nasty Nathaniel, Nasty had been out. He did 2 audits that day, and then Nashville and his wife came down with COVID. So, last minute, I'm like, I got no guests. And thankfully, Mark Fisher with our Scientology stories, Peeling the Onion, he was able to jump on and we ran it out for a good 2 hours. But man, last minute,
Nice.
you're sitting there, wow, what's going on?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
your mom lived in Texas?
Yeah, so born and raised Texas, my family, my immediate, and pretty much just getting out of my, growing into my adult years of my life. My brother and I decided Colorado was for us, and
Hey,
made the move up north and just kind of spent most of our adult life up here, which has been nice having a dual perspective of the South and up north because they are drastically different from like
oh yeah,
visually how it's manicured and just kind of like the people as well. It's pretty incredible.
you're coming in really low on the volume
Oh
there. I'm trying
no.
to bump you up. Let's see. Try it now. Go ahead and give us a check now.
Hopefully this is a little bit better. Maybe I'm too hot now.
There you go.
Is this coming through?
Yep, I can back you down. Don't worry about that. So
Okay.
there we go. How are we doing now?
Thank you, Poe.
All right.
Awesome. I'm glad we found a happy middle, it seems.
There we go. But that is the nice thing about the if I'm on my computer with StreamYard, I can do all that. If I'm on my phone, these big old grabbers they're not working that very well. It's too small a screen for that. But
right, and the software is not the same. You don't have the same like settings and options, so
yeah.
it's a little bit more challenging on the phone. But I appreciate you working with me.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you coming on here. We'll find it. And Erica, yeah, we know it's crackling. He's been having issues with his audio.
Yeah.
For anybody who just jumped in here, Jay's been having issues with his audio. You said for the last week or so.
Yeah, these next few days, I'm actually in the last stretch of moving out. So the 18th is the last day on my lease, and so before I move out, like Monday, Tuesday, those are going to be troubleshooting days for me. I'm going to be digging deep and figuring out what the issue is because I gotta nip it in the bud. It's been happening too often, multiple platforms. It's on me. It's my issue. There's a switch I gotta flip here. Which one is it?
Yeah. Oh, believe
But
me, I when I started doing the lives and everything, it was all on my phone. And as I transitioned more and more into studio style live streams, that's when I started stepping up on that. But when I'm out and I'm doing the stuff live on the streets, that's with my phone and my gimbal, and I don't even worry about, because these things have such nice mics on them, you don't have to worry about it. But
oh yeah.
Jenny Wong, we're going to get into that in a little bit here, but we're trying to get to know Jay first and see what's going on. One of the things I like about what I see from your channel is the fact that you're using the two phone setup for doing your lives, so that we can we're getting the perspective from two different angles from you. And it came in really well in the incident that happened with you, that you had the two of them going at that. What prompted you to start using two cameras instead of just using the one like most do?
So initially, it was a matter of quality. I'm very particular, and if I'm going to do it, I'm going to try give it my best effort. So I've been involved with other streaming communities, not directly as a creator, but as a viewer and supporter. So I've had an idea of kind of like what's standardized and what is expected at a certain level, right? As far as quality and features. So with that being said, the YouTube app that you could go live on standard, it's only able to stream at 720p, 30 FPS. And the other issue is if you drop signal, so if your network drops, like you lose cellular or it flickers onto Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi doesn't latch and you're in purgatory for 30 seconds, your stream will end. And I think we all know the return rate on an ended stream. You get like maybe 5% of a return on going back live on your viewers that you just disbanded essentially. So those were the major issues that I had in mind, and also audio, which I still haven't figured out. But I want to have a lapel mic, so I'll be able to set my setup stationary, walk away from it, and then be able to have my audio transmit through Bluetooth and not the microphone on the speakerphone. So that led me to explore quite a few different applications on the phone. The first one being Stream Labs, or it was StreamYard. That was the very first one when I first started streaming, and it worked really well. But I wasn't able to do picture-in-picture, wasn't able to do the microphone, and it was 720p still. So then I went to Stream Labs, Streamlabs, you're able to go into the settings. You're able to unlock the frame rate in which it broadcasts, so you're able to get higher than 30 FPS. You're able to broadcast in 1080p. You're able to have picture-in-picture, chat on screen, like alert notifications that pop up and read, like cute little things, right? It's just a little bit more involved. The problem with it is it takes like a very, they would say like a Ferrari of a phone. I mean, to put it like,
Yeah.
Realistically, it's not like the program is pretty intensive on like your network, your actual phone processor and the RAM and everything. So yeah, I've just kind of been exploring with different options, and now we're doing IRL Pro, which is an application which streams to a service called Restream. And Restream allows me to catch that RMTPS signal and pretty much send it to 3 different sites at once. So I could broadcast to YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, or like I could do Facebook as well, or I could do 5 at once essentially off of one broadcast.
And what's the
And
name
the
of that?
benefit being there, go ahead,
What's the name of it again?
Restream.
Restream.
And you're able to do panels on it as well. It's a pretty clean application. The only thing downside is you have to pay for it. Like, I mean, most decent things you got to pay a little bit for.
Right.
But I find it to be worth it for it being that you will not lose signal. So your stream won't die if you lose your signal. It'll stay up and running for you to be able to reconnect to. And secondly, you're able to broadcast to up to 5 on the basic plan. So trying to reach other audiences that aren't currently being pursued, like Twitch and Kick. Those are, the viewer base on Twitch and Kick, in my opinion, is drastically different from that of YouTube, from age demographic and interest. Everything from A to Z is going to be different from the 3 different platforms. So hoping to appeal to some of those people on those platforms to help spreading the awareness of what I'm my process and trying to spread information.
Now, what did you do when you decided you were going to start doing the First Amendment auditing? Did you start going out and checking out the other channels, seeing how they're doing it? What kind of things did you do to prepare for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I had watched quite a bit before I started, and I did kind of like understand the structure of how they were doing it, right?
Right.
I think the biggest thing for me was there's a auditor who goes by Trashy 12 BMW. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's been featured on Aaron's channel. He's one of the first people who had been out in the Chicago area to start protesting Scientology before their grand opening. But long story short, he had pretty much had a channel about his BMW prior to protesting Scientology, and at some point he determined that he was going to start protesting Scientology, and I saw him just pop up. He just did it. Anybody could just be brave, courageous, and do something different, right? You don't need permission. Nobody is running this. There's no leader. You don't put in an application. You just have to be brave. You have to you have to educate yourself on the subject, right? Make sure you're following the local legislations, and you're not working against yourself at the very least. You want to make sure that you're holding yourself up appropriately. But it just was proof that, to me, anyone can do it. Why am I not utilizing my time and voice appropriately right now when what I am doing is not really productive, when I could be doing something productive? So it's like, what? Why not? We're gonna see where this leads me, and it's only been great things. Being able to kind of learn more about myself, put myself in uncomfortable situations, developing those skills that I've never really practiced, and speaking publicly. I mean, I'm not in front of an audience, but it is a start essentially. I'm not in front of a public audience, and but it is a start to working towards speaking, freely and openly without, having that anxiety or built up, thoughts and how things are going to come through. So it's been a great Great
And
experience.
I think that was an excellent comment is that you really don't know until you put yourself out there and test yourself just what your limitations and your abilities are. I think so many people are so worried about I'm going to fail before they even try, and they have so many hangups about things that they don't realize just how much they can accomplish just by getting out there and doing it. And like with you, I learned very early on, you got to keep talking, you got to keep that audience involved with it. And that's one of the things that you see when Chad and I were down in Clearwater, you know someone was making the point of, Poe, just don't stop talking. Well, that's what keeps people going is they
Yes.
can't just walk around and just take pictures of stuff. You got to keep the audience engaged, look at the chat, see what's going on.
Yeah.
And that,
Yeah.
I think that's a very important thing that you said there is a lot of people aren't comfortable with doing that, but you got to force yourself. You got to get out of that shell, got to get out there and do it. And that's the only way you're going to succeed. If you just keep doubting yourself, you're never going to get anywhere. So
Yeah.
kudos. That was great.
Go
Great
get
comment.
uncomfortable, guys. Learn something new about yourself. Be brave and understand, it's okay to fail. It's okay to fall. It's okay to say, you know what, I messed up. I learned, this is where I went wrong. I'm gonna get better in these ways. I mean, it's not the end of the world to fail. That's where we are able to learn the most about ourselves, honestly. So
Here's an interesting one. Chris on the drums. Where did you learn to build your solar panel system to be able to charge your equipment and run other things on site?
well, I would not follow the guide that I put out on my second channel. That is a guide for somebody who is going to be high maintenance. I used to install solar. I was a roof crew lead, and I've installed several solar arrays and systems on people's homes and wired in um, inverters and everything. So I mean, I have a very good understanding of how the stuff works. My current setup is only able to recharge about 50,000 milliamp hours, which is enough to run like a 24-hour stream, which is more than I would ever need. I would
Wow.
never. I would probably only do like a 12-hour stream if I were like for my marathons, like 10 to 12 hours. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just one 400-watt panel into a charge controller and a deep cycle marine DC battery that's banked to be able to like store larger amounts of current. So
yeah, once you start talking about that solar stuff, you start talking different language to me because I don't understand it in the least bit. Chad's a little more knowledgeable about that stuff than I am.
We'll have to talk about that more because, make sure folks don't mix up the DC with the AC. When he installed the DC with the AC stuff for the houses, that was AC, and now he's talking DC for the van. So it's a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Folks. Don't mix them up.
Yeah, you need an inverter to run any DC source. So just like solar power is inherently DC from the factory, you need to take that DC source and convert it into an AC source with a inverter, which I have like a 1500-watt inverter that pulls from my battery bank. And I mean, if I really wanted to, I could run if I had enough of a bank, I could run a little theater out there. I could run a fridge. I could run. It's
Everything
pretty limitless, but yeah.
We'll have to do another live where we talk specifically about that. Chad and I do a lot of content where we're talking about cars and tech and things like that.
I love it, guys.
For sure. I would love that.
Canadian Girl says when it was Hubbard's birthday, you saw a lot of parents going into the Denver org with their kids. It's important that you are out there. And I agree. I'm seeing like Dustin down in Clearwater exposing the parents dragging their children into Scientology. How much of that are you seeing out there in Denver?
That is, the way you phrase that, I've seen them dragging their kids out there is the most, one for one explanation. I could almost, it's perfect. That's what it is. The kids already know the second they get out the car, the kids do not want to be there, whether they have a hoodie on and they're like, oh God, Jesus, there's this protester. They probably already know about it on TikTok. They're like, damn it, Dad, why are you bringing me here? But like, it's terrible because they really are getting dragged into that place. From their body language, they're not exhibiting signs of joy or desire to be a part of the program that they're approaching. They are exhibiting like, well, please, like, let's go that way. Like, bro, I'm not trying to be seen anywhere near this dude. Like, it's terrible, and it seems to be more around event times. It seems to be like, not a standard thing where they're bringing children in. It's very rare is that happening on an everyday basis. It's more on an event basis, oddly.
Right. And that's
But
the sad thing about it, that they're bringing more and more children into this, and we've already seen what happens with children who are brought into Scientology. There's no lying. I mean, we know what is happening with all this stuff, and it's ridiculous how these children are being treated. And we've got the evidence. We've got Serge, we've Liz Ferris, Miriam Francis, Jamie Mustard, and when they start talking about their lives in Scientology as children and the way that they were treated, this is, to me, that's the most important thing we need to do right now. Get those children out of there, and then we worry about getting this shut down. But we need to protect the children.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, Poe. And great that you mentioned that. I was just around an hour or two ago on panel with Laura and friend, other protesters. We were all just kind of shooting the good old time, and have chatting about XYZ. And it was an awesome time to chat with her. But she kind of lended something to that, so I want to mention real quick. I mean, the whole abuse, and it is, guys, if y'all are not aware, April is the month of child abuse prevention, or child abuse prevention awareness month. So if y'all aren't aware now y'all are, and it is important to make sure that we focus on those children, because they're getting programmed from such a young age that they are these big beings, capable beings. So having that pressure and structure of you're already capable of handling these high stress situations that most people are developing life skills and understanding how to cope with and whatnot, when they are not able to have those and explore those resources and whatnot. So just the base level of indoctrination and programming from a young level is so dangerous. And Laura was saying, like, it's a long process to you just don't leave Scientology. Like it's time. Like you build that new wiring in your head. You have to rewire your how you process your feelings and emotions. And it's terrible that children are having to endure that with the thought that they are the ones who are causing this to themselves, and how that is how it's presented to them. It's crazy, absolutely terrible.
And I think one of the things a lot of people don't think about, especially when we're talking about the children being raised in Scientology, we think back to our childhoods and the things that we look at in our lives. Me as a Christian, I grew up, basically my mom had us in church pretty much every day of the week. So, those become facts and they become building blocks of your life. What people don't realize is the children you see getting drug into Scientology now, that in 20 years can be the next Mike Render, can be the next Marty Rathbone, can be the next David Miscavige. They're literally building these children from the ground up to be these hardcore Scientologists. And I think that is another reason why it is so important that you're out there and documenting this and showing that these children are still being taken in there, and that they're still being put through these abusive practices that no child should ever have to live through. And I commend that absolutely needs to be presented, and we need the world to see what's going on with these things. So, Flea Factory says you need to hook them and MLH up with the solar stuff. So,
we know goodness, that, it was a project and a half. I mean, I didn't intend to permanently install the solar panel on my truck, but that's how it ended up happening.
It happens. I mean, that's sometimes it is. And Shade Tree Mechanic, yeah, Jay's been having issues with his audio, and that's he's going to be working on things, but we're trying to do best as we can with it. Care for JCYT. After watching the stream today with Laura and others, I have a much better understanding of the new anti-Scientology streamers and how it is more than just that. It's knowing your rights and helping. So you guys are making a difference out there, and you are, I know that there are people who are very anti what you guys are doing. I know that. But the fact is that you are making a difference, and just simply by what has happened to you, what has happened to Aaron, what's happened to Chris, and then, DOA. So you guys are making a difference, and it may not seem like it. And that's one of the sad things about life as it is. But oftentimes it's those little things that make a big difference in everything else. So, and I was just getting it out, but you need to get you a nice road setup for your audio. That stuff works tremendously. So
I got this guy, but every time I go to use it, is the audio still bad?
You're still cracking, but you're understandable. So, okay, yeah, nice.
Yeah, I doubt it's gonna work. Let's see.
One of the big things I had a problem with hooking up with the Samsung was you have to have a certain kind of adapter to make it work with that, because otherwise it goes to its default microphone on everything.
Yes. So, and that's kind of what led me to those other apps like IRL Pro and Streamlabs, because you're able to adjust the input settings of your microphone on the mobile. But it's been difficult for me, as you can see.
Let's see here, and it's all right. As long as we can understand what you're saying, that's the big thing. We can deal with the cracking. That's just how it goes. And like I was saying, like we were talking about beforehand, that's all part of the whole live streaming experiences. We were doing Chad and I were doing the eclipse over there in Hamburg, New York, and I went up because for some reason my phone kept wanting to go to sleep on me while it was in the middle of live stream, so I had to keep touching the screen. I went to do that, and next thing I know, it had shut me right out of the live stream. So these things happen.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I've been having like battery issues too, where I plug in both phones to the battery bank, and then one phone will get zapped from like 98% to 30%. It's like, okay, sure.
And
thank you.
Matt says he believes that there's two different softwares fighting each other. That's where the crackling's coming from.
I see. Sorry about that, guys.
He probably knows way better than I do. So I don't, literally 90% of what I know about doing these live streams, I learned from Aaron Smith-Levin.
No, I hear you. I've been recently learning from somebody who goes by Friends in Code. He's just kind of like a coder, and he's a very awesome dude who's been kind of helping me with some of my technical difficulties. But I try not to be too overbearing, because he's kind enough to lend me his time and knowledge. So trying to approach that appropriately.
Yeah. And the other thing is that a lot of times this stuff can get into some real money on you, and it's not exactly easy to keep up with it with the all the technology. It's changing daily. I love the fact that you can go on Amazon now and you can pick up things that were $500 to $1,000, and now they're under $100 because there's just so much competition out there for it.
Yeah.
And I've always been one of those that I believe in, people who are starting out doing their streams, especially studio style, don't go out and buy the best of equipment. Because what if you get into it and find out it's not what you want to do? Next thing you know, you've dumped all this money into this, and you're never going to get that money back out of it. That's for sure. So,
and if you do, like, maybe make sure you have like a backup. Like, okay, well, if this doesn't work out, I could use this for.
Yep, that's the thing.
Maybe
all of my original lives and my recorded content right here on my Samsung.
Yeah,
and it has worked beautifully for me. Now I've got that beautiful. I bought a GoPro, and the old GoPro I had was the GoPro 5. Now I have the new one, and it's the quality of that thing is amazing. Yes. for a long time, my phone was what I needed. I was able to download it and use a Hit Film Express and edit all my stuff and doing the edited content. But once I started doing the live streams in the studio style, I had to step it up. And I can't believe the camera that I use is a Logitech C920, and that thing cost me, I think, $50. And I'm using it to this day, and I think it puts out really good quality.
It does.
So I never, I'm one of those. I've always been a cheapskate. If I can build it myself, I'll build it myself, but I don't like spending a ton of money on it, so
Yeah.
so
No, I
it
hear
is.
you. That's kind of where I'm at with the whole IRL streaming situation, because this is one way to stream, right, with the phone, but there's like
Mhm.
levels to it, right, as we all know.
Oh, yeah.
And when you get to the top there, you pretty much just go buy a turnkey situation that allows you to take like a GoPro or like a DSLR, HDMI video output. Long story short, you would
Yep.
pretty much like have it all encoded and broadcasted to a desktop. And you could build it yourself, but you gotta be willing to go through the pain and struggling of getting everything to work together. And it'll be a lot
Oh,
cheaper. You're gonna be more knowledgeable, or inexpensive, I should say. But the process is gonna be one that is a worthy one of saving money. Whether you're fixing your truck, like I'd rather change 3 parts before I go pay a mechanic, because the third part is going to fix it. Like, there's no way that I misdiagnosing 3 parts, and it's still going to be
right.
cheaper than going to the mechanic. And I learned something in the process. Like, I just had to do my fuel pump, my water pump, my power steering
Mhm.
pump. Like, I'm almost done like with a whole rebuild on the truck, because it's just like I'm just not going to take it to the mechanic. I'd rather just shotgun
Oh, yeah.
fix it.
Jed, you look like you're about to say something there.
I was gonna say, as someone that works a second job selling auto parts, I respect that.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you know about me, but this is one of my toys that I had. I was in the industry for nearly 30 years. So I know exactly what you're talking about, learning how to get out there and work on your own stuff yourself. That's the way to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dad always told me if I could do it myself, why are you going to pay somebody? So we
Yep.
built the duplex, we re-roofed the house, we plumbing and electrical, everything. I mean, we figured out what we had to do, whether it was for uncle or for grandma.
And that's the thing is that you need to really, it's just like with doing the live streaming and doing the First Amendment auditing, is you have to push yourself. If you're not willing to
yeah.
push yourself, you're not willing to make mistakes, you're not going to learn from it. And that's very important that you make sure that you're doing the right, taking those chances, and if you put the power steering pump on wrong, you did something wrong there, then yeah, you can go to a mechanic or go to someone who's a bit more experienced and go from there. But
Yeah.
unless you're out there doing it yourself, how are you going to learn? So
Yeah.
All right, Joel, good seeing you, brother. Thank you for being here. As always, it's an honor having you in here, Joel.
Yep.
So, all right, we got a couple of questions. How are the Denver police treating you now?
So after the 3rd time that they had made contact, so the first time was a swatting, the second time similar incident with the report, but they approached it a much more gradual, at a more gradual pace. The 3rd time it was a swatting where I got detained again. After that 3rd time, there's been a just parallel shift in the planes of the universe. Like, it's just no longer are they, from what I've been able at the current state, from what I'm able to currently observe, they seem to have caught a different drift of pleasant air. But in the beginning, it was quite intense. So it's
So,
transitioned
unlike
positively.
LAPD, they're actually learning as they go.
It seems as so, because I'm sure LAPD watches the live streams. I'm
Mhm.
sure they do, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's just that they know that I don't know. Maybe they feel like Denver is a little bit more responsive to that stuff. I really don't know why they're changing their tone now, but it seems as though they are definitely trying to mediate a little bit more equally and fairly, rather than just have a direct response and take action without information.
So break down your first swatting for us. How did that go?
Oh God, that was wild.
Terrifying, isn't it?
What, yeah, like I've never, how many, times have you had a gun pointed at you? I mean, as an
Well, I was about
officer of
to
the
say, I'm
law,
not the one to be asking that question.
that
too.
is maybe not the question to ask you, but for the average citizen, it's probably not too often that they are looking down the barrel of a gun.
Right.
Especially one with laser pointer, and it's not just a handgun; it's more like a rifle, and it's
Right.
not just one gun, but there's like 4 or so of them staged on a car, and it's not just them, but there's like blocking off the street. There's a helicopter. There's like you could see them on every block. They shut it down. Well, how
Oh,
it
yeah.
happened was I was filming towards the parking lot, and happy old Jay, I turn around. Oh my God, put your hands up. Yes, sir. Like, oh, I think the only thing I said was yes, sir, after everything he said. It was terrifying. Like, because at a certain point, I remember he had stopped giving commands. So he was commanding me towards him. And there was a point where he started to address another unit and stopped giving me commands. I was like, oh shit, I'm just standing here. Like, I was like, just that moment without having direction from, the controlling force in the situation. I clearly was not free in that moment. I had no freedom as an American in that moment of being under gunpoint and being addressed by, a uniformed officer. So I just, as peacefully as I could, complied. I told them, I didn't consent to any searches or seizures. They Terry frisked me, which is, from what I understand, just like, surface level pat down. And obviously I didn't have a gun.
Right.
I had pepper spray on me, and I informed them of that, and that was no issue. They literally left it on my lanyard, on my person. They didn't care
Wow.
about the pepper spray, and yeah, it was crazy. So after being Terry frisked, I'm still further detained, placed in a vehicle. My property was on the sidewalk, and I instructed them to leave my property where it was. It was just my phone and like my live streaming setup. She ends up
Right.
grabbing my phone, picks it up, ends the live stream, and I see her scrolling through my notes. And at this point, I already know, like, I'm in the dark. Like, I gotta play the field. I gotta know what side of the fence I gotta, lean on and how hard in this moment, because at the end of the day, I have no power. I can go for a ride very easily, and the DA say, why the hell did y'all do this? It's that simple. They get a little slap on the wrist, and I'm the one who reaps the consequences of having to spend a night, to see a magistrate or whatever, to be able to get processed, or maybe even 2 nights, depending on whether it was a weekend or not. I can't even remember. But it was terrifying, absolutely
Oh, that,
terrifying. Never had anything like that happen to me in my life.
something I would suggest is you need to file a complaint against the officer who went through your phone.
Yeah.
All right. You didn't give them permission. You told them that that they couldn't do it. It's obvious that that the phone is not a weapon of any sort. And to me, it would seem as though that officer violated your Fourth Amendment rights against
Oh yeah.
unlawful search and seizure. So I would suggest that you definitely make a complaint against that officer. There was no reason in the world for them to go through your phone. What it doesn't. All your stuff is live. So
Right.
all they have to do is go on their own phones and pull up your live stream, and they can see what's going on. But for that officer to go on there, stop your live stream, and then go through your phone, yeah, I'd speak to an attorney about it. That's
Oh yeah. No, I'm trying to find the right one. It's like
Yep.
yeah, I'm just kind of going through that. It's been a long process,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you could imagine. But
How
yeah,
long
and
were
then
you
that
in
second.
handcuffs?
So that first time I was in handcuffs. The second time, MLH was out on scene that day, and they definitely were much more on their toes, I guess you could say, because
I
MLH is
know.
known around town. He's known in
Yep.
multiple districts across the city and like in the greater area. He's actively trying to make sure people's rights aren't getting violated, and trying to film those violations and speak up for them and whatnot. He's a great dude, but that day, thankfully, he was there in person. And I think just his presence alone was enough to keep me out of cuffs.
That's good.
But yeah, so he pretty much handled the cops that day, and asked why, what's the reason for the call, blah, everything. And they typically do like this fake, thing where they go talk to the receptionist and like, oh, it doesn't seem like there's a threat here. Well, of course not. We're just protesting it. It's the church, deploying, weaponizing public services that are critical to, especially in the world that we live in, like cops are helping save lives from like overdoses nowadays. Like they serve many roles. I'm not, not to get in that whole situation, but yeah, they definitely wear many hats.
Well, the thing is that keeping you in handcuffs after they realize you don't have any kind of weapon, that you're not a threat to the organization, but keeping you in handcuffs seems more like punishing you while they're there. You made us come out here. You made us have to do this. So you know what? We're just going to leave you in the handcuffs for as long as we want to. And you definitely need to get an attorney. You definitely need to follow their advice. Wait till they tell you to file your complaint against the officers and go forward from there. Because once they, and I can tell you personally, I can't tell you how many calls that I actually responded to where they say, oh, this person has a bang bang. This person has this person has that. I mean, good Lord, DOA got called in one time. They said he had a chainsaw, but once you get there, the person doesn't have a weapon on them. They're not showing any signs of aggression. They're not doing anything that you're being called there for. You don't need to have that person in handcuffs anymore. Once you got the ID, you know who they are, you run their name. It's very simple. There's no warrants. They have a clean record. All that comes back. So yeah, you definitely need to speak to an attorney and make sure you follow their advice on it. And because I mean, to be honest with you, Denver screwed up on that. When LAPD screwed up so many times, that's not even funny. And you need, and that's the way that we get things changed, is when you file those complaints, you hold them accountable to the Constitution and to the laws. That's how we make changes in the law enforcement community, in the public service community, period. They can't just run roughshod over you and scare you and threaten you into things. Chad, I'll tell you, that's been one of my biggest concerns for me, is being a retired police officer. I'm legally allowed to carry anywhere in the United States. It's a federal law says I can do it, but I'm telling you right now, I did not take anything down with me to Clearwater. When I hit LA, when I get out there with you in Denver, I'm not going to be taking anything with me, because Scientology's just got to call it in. He's a retired cop. I see a gun on him, and you need to check him out. Next thing you know, they got me on the ground, got me in handcuffs, and how long are they going to keep me laying there? And I'm a 55-year-old man, so and that's the thing, is you need to make sure that you handle that, and you make sure you hold them accountable. I, as a police officer and as a chief of police, one of my big things is you need to be accountable for what you do. You treat people like they're human beings. Just because someone broke the law doesn't make them a criminal. All right. And especially in your case, you did nothing. You were exercising a constitutional right, which this country was built on, is our Constitution. So for you being out there and exercising a right that our Constitution gave you, there is no call for what they did. Once they got there, they established you were not a threat. It's time to start easing things up. And they should have, instead of worrying about you, they should have been focusing on who it is from Scientology that called it in, and they need to get a pair of bracelets on them. So yeah,
no, I hear that. I definitely agree. And kind of the scare tactic that you had mentioned, that's what their intention, or potential intention was, or maybe potential motive. I can 100% guarantee that is what they were going for, because if it didn't work that time, the third time what had happened was same situation. Call is somebody with a knife and a gun in their waistband running around stabbing people. I fit the description.
Oh,
Okay,
I
now here's
remember
the thing.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
They're rolling around code 3, opposite lanes of traffic. They pull into the Scientology parking lot, go around, and they pull out in the same way they came in. I'm standing right there. I'm asking, hey officer, is there any threat in the area? Anything I need to be concerned about? And he's like, nope, nothing to be concerned about. And so I'm like, okay, that's great, whatever. I forget exactly, it was just casual back and forth, whatever. Like, as I see y'all rolling around code 3, like, I was just curious. It seems like something serious is going on, whatever. And then somebody in chat had been watching the police scanner, and they told me if somebody had called in of the knife threat. And so I asked him, is there a threat of a knife or a weapons call or anything? And and he was like, yeah, there was a knife call. I was like, why didn't you tell me that? That seems like it's pretty serious. The public could be in danger. And so we're back and forth for about 2.5, maybe 3 minutes. He disappears after that. They come back about 25 minutes later. They already got the gloves on. Oh, they were ready.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? They went and grabbed a coffee before they made contact with me. And
Bend over
so
and
they made
smile time.
they come, they make contact. I immediately ask, who are you? Because they started addressing me without announcing themselves, and I don't know if that's something I have to do, but I'm just like, look, who are you? Like, I know who you are, but can you tell me who you are? And you know, I was from there. I was like, am I being detained? And he's like, no, but you're working towards it. So then at that point, they
Oh,
pretty much
because you asked who they were, huh?
yeah. So then at that point, they just walk around me, and they pretty much just detain me, and aggressively, kind of unnecessarily pulling my arms down, more than they really needed to. I'm just standing there with my arms up. Literally, I have my hands above my head with a sign, and they're like ripping my arms down. So they put me in cuffs. They're saying what it is. Like, I matched the description. Had a knife in my waistband. Somebody was drinking tea. You have tea. Oh my God. Okay, whatever. And they said that I had called it in on myself. That was the craziest part, Poe. At this point, they said they had Raz that I had called in this threat on myself. That's what if you go through the live stream, that's what they were saying. And my mind was blown, apparently, because I matched the description and I had T. That was enough for them to put it together. But then they start going through, like, asking me questions. And I know I haven't committed a crime, so I'm being difficult about giving my name, because I shouldn't have to really give my name if I haven't committed a crime. Like, I don't believe I need to identify here in Denver. I could be mistaken. But regardless, they were pretty much trying to pressure me for my name. At a certain point, they go through my live stream, and go ahead.
That's a catch-22 right there. If an officer is actually investigating a criminal incident, and they demand of you your identification or your name and date of birth, and refusing to, that can actually be, in most states, considered obstruction of justice. So that's a real catch-22 on that one.
Even if their Raz is pretty questionable.
What's that?
Like, even if their reasonable suspicion, articulable suspicion is a little bit questionable and clearly faulty.
Right. Well, the thing is that that's all there's a common statement within law enforcement, and the streets is where you don't argue it, you argue it in court. So that's the way they get out. They're able to get around things like that. But yeah, you have to be careful with that, because if an officer gives you a lawful command of producing identification or identifying yourself, you have to do so. And pretty much every state I know of, they actually have a law on the books that says that is an obstruction of justice, which is a jailable offense. So yeah, you got to be careful with that one. And
I'm glad that didn't go that way that day.
Yeah,
seems like I got very lucky.
If they were really upset with you and wanted to screw you over, they could have used that. And then you see that a lot with, like, the sovereign citizens, where you see they'll pull them over for a traffic stop, and they haven't committed a crime, but they committed a civil infraction, which is a traffic stop. And you officers are allowed to demand proof of identification, registration, and and so I don't know every state about the insurance, but pretty much every state you must provide proof of registration, proof of identification. And so you'll see the sovereign citizens go, you know, they give all their 1,000 different things, reasons why they don't have to produce it. And then next thing you know, their window's getting blown out and they're getting drug out of the car. Well, that's because it went from a civil infraction to an actual misdemeanor infraction of the law by refusing to identify. And
by obstructing justice. That makes sense now. I'm following.
And just, you know, just remember, remember your rights. It's not a violation of your Fifth Amendment to give for the officer to demand your name and your date of birth. That is, you know,
I see.
That's been upheld in courts, that officers do have the legal authority to demand that if they are investigating a possible criminal act. Whether or not that criminal act turns out to be true or not, if they are there on the basis of a criminal action has occurred and they're investigating it, they can ask you for that. And, you know, and
it was just really uncomfortable because they had, done the Terry frisk at this point, and, you know, I'm clearly not the suspect, and I'm still being pressured for my identification. So that was the point where I was like, dude, you just found out I didn't have weapons. And there was even a point where one of the officers says, I just checked his stream and he didn't make the call, because that was the other thing that they were trying to link me to, was that I was the one who had made the call, right? So I may have not made the best decision in the moment. I'm thankful it worked out in my favor, but it was super uncomfortable because, like, most times we don't know how we're going to respond until we're in those high pressure situations. Like I'm sure you've probably gone through several trainings on how to react, and so you're not like figuring out in the moment. But yeah, it was intense.
And that's the thing is that, and you never know how you're going to react until you're in that situation and you have the crosshairs brought down on you. A lot of people just don't know. My biggest concern is with a lot of them knowing that, me being a retired police officer and having the right to carry, that I get into a situation like that, hands up, and next thing you know, someone asks me a question, I turn like that, and I'm getting popped. So that's my biggest fear about things.
Yeah.
You know, because there is reasonable suspicion that I would have a bang bang on me. So, and Matthew was asking, why is it a child will get in big trouble for a fake 911, but Scientology can get away without consequences? That is a multi-pronged answer, because one of the big things is number one is proving where it came from. So here it is. One of the things they had is they're asking you, did you make the call? We have the reason to believe that you called on yourself. So with all these different programs and apps that are out there nowadays, you can literally get someone's phone number, use this app, make a call, and it will show up as that person's phone number making the call. How many times do we get spam calls or scam calls, and it says someone's actual name, it's a local area code, local phone number, then you answer it and the person can barely speak English because they're not even in the United States. There are programs out there that allow you to do that. So that's one reason. Number two is people, there are lots of ways that you can actually hide the fact that it's your phone, period. It'll come in as unregistered or something like that. There's a lot of burner phones that don't get registered to a name. So when that comes in 911, that's going to show up a different way. And if you get someone who can copy like your voice pretty well, Jay, then, you know, they can actually call it in and make people think that could be Jay calling that in. But thank goodness you had the officer that actually went in and he watched your live stream. And he's like, if he made that call, when did he make it? Because he's been on camera the whole time. So yeah, that's the good thing about that.
And the hard part about like callers who are like, say, from Canada or Europe, okay, now you're talking about how to prosecute somebody who is in a different law of land. You know, like you have to delve down a different road of legislation, being like the federal bureau, rather than your like local law enforcement, or even like a I don't even know, like just kind of federally working between the states. As far as I know, like once it crosses like U.S. lines, it needs to be handled in a much more like serious capacity. It's not as easy to just it pretty much get handed off to different layers. Like it goes up the escalator.
Oh yeah. And Matthew, in those situations, that's best to ask an attorney. But every attorney I've ever known has told me point blank, if you're in a situation like that, and an officer says, "Show me your identification," um, just give it to them, as the response I've gotten from most attorneys I've spoken to. And their point on it is would you rather end up in jail for obstruction of justice and then face the possibility of spending X amount of days in jail for guilty conviction of it, or just give them your ID at that point? If you don't have any warrants or anything like that, it's a completely different world. And but the thing is, it's all in the officer that you're dealing with. Some officers would be, you could turn around and go, "What do you need my ID for?" And and they may back down from it. But you have other officers to be like, "Well, I'm investigating a crime and you need to give me your ID." So you need to be careful about things like that. And that's why you need to speak to an attorney and let them guide you on those kinds of things, because I'm not an expert on the actual proceedings, other than as being a law enforcement officer. And my experience, and I don't even consider myself an expert in law enforcement. I just have a lot of experience in it. And I've seen officers actually end up ruining their careers because of situations like that, where they've overstepped their boundaries. And yeah, you're going to run into people who are in law enforcement who, the minute they get that badge on their chest, suddenly they become King Kong, as it came from, I believe it was Training Day, where Denzel Washington was talking about that. But the fact is, there's a lot of people who get into it that should never have been police officers in the first place. There's a lot of people get into it and they have a bad attitude. And we're not even talking about the officers who suffer PTSI on almost a daily basis. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And my advice is always play safe. But beyond that, I would say always talk to an attorney about things like that, because I'm not an expert. I believe me, I've taken enough blows to the head. I know that I have enough memory problems and other things going on like that. But you need to, always cover your butt. We call it CYA, cover your ASS. And you just want to make sure you don't get yourself caught up in anything that could end up causing problems for you later on down the road. I mean, here it is. Think about it. You get in my situation, 55 years old, retired, and you want to pick up a little job just to keep you active, bring in a little extra income, and you go to get a job as a security guard somewhere and find out you can never be licensed in your state because you have an obstructing justice a conviction on your record. So these are all things you need to think about. And a lot of us live in the here and now, but you also need to be focusing towards your future as well. And that's that's the thing. And yeah, Matthew, make sure you always say that. You're not given any legal advice. It's your opinion on things. That's why I tell you, I'm not an expert. I am not. So
I'm not either. Like, all of us,
yep.
we need to do our own due diligence and, try to our best to educate ourselves to the best of our abilities. Reach out when we're unsure or need advice. And, just trying is the most important part. Doing it and being actively trying in that process.
And you took a page right out of my book, due diligence. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks, and I'm not trying to insult anyone, but a lot of folks will watch what other people are doing on YouTube and they think they've got a grasp on things. And that's why I always say you need to talk to an attorney if it deals with anything that could be civil or criminal that could end up getting your butt in front of a judge. You want to make sure you speak to an attorney about stuff. Let's
Right.
see. Oh, Amber, how you doing? Amber's actually going to be on Mark Fisher and Janice Gillum Grady's channel pretty soon here.
Nice.
So good seeing you back. All right. So the elephant in the room, Curtis Johnson. So, and now the thing is that anybody can go right to your channel and not just find out what happened. They can watch that stuff as it went down. And folks, here's Jay's channel, Denver Scientology Audit. Make sure you get over there, subscribe to him, show him some love. He's getting out there. He's putting his butt on the line, and you saw what's going on. So tell us about Mr. Curtis Johnson.
That was So, I mean, for context, anytime that I had seen him prior, um, he there was one time where he was on the roof, and Danny and Leah had came to Denver, and they had caught him on the roof trying to get a wide perspective angle of the protest that was going on. So he's always kind of appeared to have been in some type of, you know, observant capacity, like security style. And I don't know. I guess there's just I don't know if he was instructed or what. I don't want to speculate, but that day I had parked on the opposite side of the road. So Scientology being, you know, one side of the block across the street. I'm on the other side of the block, parked on that side. I didn't even see him approach. I just noticed movement behind my vehicle, and I thought it was, you know, Denver people going to their jobs or whatever. So I casually get out, and I realize that it's, you know, a staff member. They start taking pictures. I realize they're taking pictures of my license plate, taking pictures of me, and of my vehicle inspection sticker. And then he comes back to me, and I'm filming the second I get out of my vehicle. And or live streaming. And at some point, I turned to him and said, "Look, guys!" Immediately with the odd behavior, right out the gate. And he's like, "Oh, it's not odd behavior." And I was like, something along the lines of it, like, y'all must be ashamed of what y'all do. And he's like, "I'm not ashamed." And at that point, he just snatched the phone out of my hands. It was the craziest thing that I wasn't expecting it, and I feel like he snapped. Like, I feel like he saw the camera. Like, I wasn't like right in his face. I was just like how I would always normally. I had the phone below me, so we were able to look eye to eye. It's not like I had the camera in front of my face hiding. You know, I'm here with you eye to eye. And it was just the craziest thing. So he snatches my phone, and I pretty much, I'm declaring that you're gonna give me my property back. I'm telling him what's, you know, about to be happening. Like, you're gonna give me my property back, and he's pursuing, like, trying to get out away of me. And yeah, pretty much, I bear hug him and try to get my phone out of his hands. At some point, my phone goes flying. I didn't notice it, and I look back and I see it, so I let go of him. He immediately beelines it for my phone again, and like picks it up, tries to leave off with it again. So at this point, like, same situation, bear hug him. We make our way to the ground, and I'm just there on top of him till the police get there, like shaking. Oh, Mr. Johnson, I can't believe you. It was something.
And there he goes. There's grabbing your phone there. That was just, I watched that and I'm like, my goodness. And one of the things, and I've commented, you heard me on the one live stream where I was talking about it. When you took him down, you know, you didn't go overboard. You just held him down, kept him pretty much pinned down. And I love the one angle where you see him there, and he's and that's where I got the thumbnail for this. Was I had to take that little caption in the bottom corner there, but you see him and he's sitting there and he's literally like this, and it reminded me so much of the Little Rascals with Spanky. There's a picture of him sitting like that, and I'm just like, this guy just knew he was done. He isn't getting up. He needs to just leave it be. How long did it take the Denver police to actually show up?
It felt like what was forever, Poe. I mean,
oh yeah.
If I had to give an honest estimate, I'd say maybe 12 minutes. That's an honest, like, give me plus or minus 2-3 minutes, you know? Yeah. Yep. Like, I mean, he knew he messed up. He knew he was done. Oh, yeah. And the issue for me, Poe, like, my phone was unlocked. I'm not anywhere, you know, I haven't developed as many connections as somebody like maybe you have or others, but I have amassed, you know, people in my life who I'd rather not have their information completely exposed to this cult that I already know how they operate with information. So just the fact that he was trying to leave with my phone as it was unlocked, all the things going through my head. He's going to download my entire phone, all my emails, text messages, phone calls, phone log. The phone is probably going to get snapped in half, thrown on the roof, Curtis Johnson is gonna magically disappear. Like his body things are gonna like carry him off. Like the cops are
Yeah.
gonna show up. Oh, there's no Curtis Johnson here. Nobody matches that description. We couldn't find anybody in there. Like everything was like, there's no way I could let this happen right now. Like the what I would the detriment I would have experienced and the people I care about was just too great to consider
Oh,
allowing to happen.
and look, now is that your
that
phone
was
or your gimbal?
good.
Is
That's
that a
my
gimbal?
battery bank.
Oh, your battery
The
bank. Okay.
gimbal, yeah, it was crazy. Everything went flying. Like, people like stuff's getting run over. Like, yeah, it was a pretty. It was about probably like $1,400 in damages. Between the phone being cracked, the battery bank, the gimbal, and there's Josh.
Okay.
Josh has earned his gold vest since this. And I've
Now,
actually seen stuff. Go ahead.
how did it start raising your fear level when the two staff members came out and were out there,
Yeah,
or were they pretty chill?
I gotta be honest. I wasn't being surrounded by the Scientologists. I knew if anything was going to happen, it was going to happen immediately. I was more concerned about what was going to happen when the cops showed up. That was what I was shaking about. I was physically, my leg was shaking under Curtis, like up and down, like a sewing machine. Waiting, in perpetual eternity for what is about to happen.
Well, your adrenaline's going. That's a big thing right there, and that's going to start making it seem like time has slowed down for you. I'm trying to get up
Right.
to the point where the police actually show up here on the live.
I'm telling you, it was
And
forever. And there's Raj. That's a Scientologist. He's like, look, man,
yeah,
just get off of him. It's like, I can't trust this man. He's already tried to flee twice
yeah.
after committing crimes against me.
Now, who's the guy who's been standing in the background the whole time?
Josh, the one who's on the phone and in all vet and in all black.
Yeah.
He's Josh.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a staff member. We found like some members of the community have kind of dug deep and figured out some of these people's names. And shout out to Sweet Sun Slice, being one of those members of the community who worked pretty hard on finding out some of these names. But
Excellent.
yeah,
And it needs to be exposed. That's the thing, is it's got to be out there. And I think right about here is when the police are getting there, because I see you standing up, and at this point we're talking 25 minutes. So the actual encounter started at 2 minutes, so we're talking at least 20 minutes that you guys were engaged with each other. And I'm just wondering, does it take that long for Scientology to get police response?
Very good point. I'm curious. You're talking about from the call to response, what the response time is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be curious. I did try to file. Go ahead.
That would be something I'd really like to see from the Denver Police Department, is what kind of response time that they're putting out when Scientology calls them, as to compared to you actually had someone here in Michigan that would have been considered a strong arm robbery, unarmed robbery, strong arm robbery, whatever you want to call it. But the but the fact is that you have this incident happen. He assaulted you, took your camera from you, and you had to literally detain him until the police got there. And we'll even give them some leeway on it. It took, after you grounded him, 2 minutes for the call to go out for the police to come. So we're still talking about anywhere from 16 to 18 minutes for them to respond. I'm just wondering if they're getting a much faster response rate when Scientology's calling them. And potentially you're talking about a felony that he could have been charged with.
Right. He was about like $600 shy of a felony charge. So he got very lucky. If I didn't have another, like, if this didn't go into the street, or like, another battery bank, like literally just 2 more items would have put him into a felony.
Well, I think what he did to your hair there should have been that extra, $400 in itself.
I know. I just showered, and typically I'll like kind of leave my hair conditioned pretty heavily, like at least once a week, just to give it a little bit more life. And yeah, so that my hair was not supposed to be on camera that day, Poe.
Yeah, that,
Um,
the thing is that in this situation now, how were the police? How did they treat you in this situation as compared to the other encounters you've had with them?
yeah, like it was a drastically different experience from to the point where they're advising me on how to structure the report. I gotta say, your hair looks pretty raggedy and cool in the video, punk rock. Yeah. Oh, my hair is gonna get crazy soon, guys. Like it's gonna get grown out, so it's gonna be a whole different looking J, like Rasta J. But to get back
There
to
you
the
go.
point, they were really cordial and honest with the process, and were advising me on how my witness statement or my impact statement or whatever it would be labeled as. They were like, "Hey, make sure that you put the person that Denver PD arrested was the person who assaulted and took my property." You know, they wanted to make sure that I wrote certain things to kind of help streamline the narrative, if that makes sense, which I appreciated because I didn't think of something like that, right? To like link
Yep.
another party to to my knowledge, essentially.
Yeah,
Um,
and those are things that need to be. And here are some other aspects of it that I didn't realize. And watching, I can see your hands now. I can see different things, but you had your abrasions or cuts, whatever,
yeah,
the injuries that you received. And now I'm hearing Matthew saying, you have a knee problem now from it. So
that's the thing. From what I understand, my counsel has told me if I incur any permanent scarring, it becomes a different level of assault, or a different. There's a different like prosecute. I forget. It's just a different way to prosecute it if there is permanent scarring.
yeah.
Which, if there's like a major surgery that was caused by the incident, that would, kind of go down that road of permanent scarring.
And that goes into what Mona was asking there about upgrading the charges on it. And
Right.
oftentimes charges will be amended after an incident, specifically because the injuries were found to be much more damaging or much harsher than were originally realized at the scene. With the adrenaline pumping and everything that was going on with you, you're not feeling the pain like you normally would.
Oh,
Once that all
I was
done,
hurting. It was crazy. I
was
was
you?
hurting there. Yeah, I was like walking away from the scene, essentially limping. Me and Emma Lynch limping in stride. Like I'm helping hold him up. We're like the two injured, amigos. Just let's go grab lunch. Barely able to get into the booth. Like I'm 30 years old, Poe. Come on,
Yeah.
man. Really?
Who you talking to?
Um,
I'm 55 and my knees are shot. So I
no,
know.
I hear you, man. That's what I'm saying. I shouldn't be going through that. But here's
Now,
something curious.
when the
Was it Monica or
adrenaline
Mon?
when the adrenaline actually wore off, did you feel much more pain at that point? Did it
Oh
start
yeah,
intensifying? Yeah,
yeah. What?
that's a thing.
100%.
Think
Yeah,
about
like
if you
that
didn't have the
evening,
adrenaline then.
I was sleepless, like
Oh yeah.
aching. Yeah, it was crazy.
Well,
But
think about
he had
the
only
anxiety that you faced after that as well. The
right.
next time that you go out, it had to be playing in the back of your mind. Is something like this going to happen again? Is what happened to Aaron or those other guys? Is that going to happen to me now? So
I
I'm sure, you know,
I
what
know a lot of people can relate to that kind of. I mean, you probably have different things that you go through. Everybody has something that they go through, right? But
yeah,
as a protester, any other protester who's been swatted, I'm sure we could all kind of lend, the same, kind of share the same lens and our perspective of how any siren, even though it's an ambulance,
hmm
it's a fire truck, it's a police, it's still like in the back of your head, is it me?
absolutely.
Like, am I about to be addressed? Like, am I about to lose my freedoms unconstitutionally, or are my rights about to be violated? It's absolutely terrifying once you go through those experiences several times. And you have no choice but to realistically kind of feel those raw emotions on command without thought. Um,
And that's
And
you
I'm,
know,
I'm hoping to be able to get a hold of the DA's office or the city, like district attorney's office, because he was only charged with misdemeanor theft and misdemeanor destruction of personal property. But I
right.
feel like at the very least, there should have been a battery charge, a misdemeanor battery charge added. I mean, if there's, if we're not talking about assault, okay, fine. If the DA is not able to see it like that, then, absolutely battery is going to be, something that should be pursuing of that investigation and, seeing if it's valid of charge to fit the crime. But hopefully that all gets straightened out. It sounds like he's arraigned around the 20th, plus or minus a few days. MLH, good to see you, brother. I hope you're well this evening, man. TCD, I
Thanks
see
for
you as
being here,
well.
MLH.
I don't have chat open, guys, so bear with me. We're freestyling it, and my mic's all messed up, so we're just doing a rough house stream.
I've got some great mods that help out, and I see you've got some great things going on with yours as well.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's coming into tonight's live, that was one of the things is that finding out that you could actually stream this on your channel as well. So, and there's Mexican Long Hair channel for everybody. And you hear what Jay's got to say. He's a stand-up person there, and someone that Jay likes to actually be around. And it seems like he may have saved you a lot of headaches at one incident. So it's nice to have
absolutely.
something like that. So let's see. Yeah, I agree. Mimi's love. You are amazing. You're going to be moving upwards and onwards. They're proud of you and all you've done. So fortunate they got to meet you and protest with you. It was an honor.
Awesome. It's good to see you again, Mimis. I hope you've been well since then. Thank you so much for coming out that time as well. It was awesome having that community gather together and, kind of share that like-minded mentality in stride. It was awesome.
Yeah. And I would, my personal advice on it is hold the Denver DA feet to the fire. Don't let them just push this off. Make sure that they're doing what they are supposed to be doing. And too often you'll get these prosecutors that they want to fluff stuff off and try to, because their plate's full. And
yeah, they want an easy conviction. They don't want it to be messy with a maybe, what if, or a what if but and or.
Right. Oh goodness. Love having great sinuses. But yeah, that's one of the things you need to do is make sure you don't let them just walk on it, because if they can, you're going to get lazy people in every profession that will do those kinds of things. You're going to get people who are absolutely overworked and can't, and for them, a nice, easy turnover is an easy way for them to go. So, but this, make sure, that's a big thing. Hold their feet to the fire, make sure that they are doing what they have to, and then update them continually. I'm having trouble with my knees. I'm having this problem. I'm having anxiety issues. Whatever it is. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm just giving
I hear you.
examples.
Just kind of keep that communication line open so it's transparent and there's no surprise rabbit out the hat situation.
Now, do you know when there's going to be a court date, or has anything moved forward on that yet?
So last I heard, it was the 19th of April when he was arraigned for hearing. I mean,
March?
April. So coming up very soon.
Oh, okay. That's when it's going to happen. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get in touch with a detective or the city district attorney's office or somebody to that nobody's reached out, and I've been desperately trying to call anybody, and I'm sure you know how that goes. What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. There's only one detective that's been able to give me any information. I'm just thankful to God that he's cooperative and open with me, and we've kind of built a decent rapport with each other since a lot of this has happened. So I think that's another thing, is kind of building that decency with some of the.
I can tell you from personal experience, from working in a smaller department, which was the first department I was with, in the detectives bureau. As you know, I was a detective sergeant in my department. One of the things that you're going to find is that we're all issued cases, and a specific detective is going to be handling that. So you call in that detective's out on another case, the other detectives pretty much aren't going to have any idea what's going on with it. And a lot of that happens with the DA's office as well. And,
I see.
and the bigger the department is, that it's that many more heads that don't know what's going on. And it's all going to come
Yeah.
down to who's their immediate supervisor or who's in charge of their particular pod within the Detectives Bureau. They may have some idea because they're going to ask for updates. But the big thing is, it's all going to come down to who is the detective handling your case and who's the
That makes
DA
sense.
handling it. So that's something that you're going to have to expect with it, but it's not uncommon that happens.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Brittany Van Brackle, love your stuff, Jay. I'm loving this interview with you and Poe. It's perfect. Thank you.
Heck yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying, folks.
Yeah, this I'm having a good time. I don't know if you've realized we've already been an hour and a half into this, so it's
it's been a blast chatting with you, Poe. I can't say anything other than that. And it sounds like it'd be nice to chat about some other topics at some other point as well.
Oh yeah,
that's what. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was saying, like getting you in and talking about the solar, different things that are of aspect, different of interest that you have. So we know right now all he's being charged. What is his only charge he's getting right now at this point?
2 misdemeanors, one of theft of personal property and destruction of personal property. So but pretty surface level, but still charges nonetheless.
And here's something interesting that was brought up. I'm trying to make my way back to it. I had started a little way back so I could get to it, but someone had actually pulled up Colorado law on it. There we go. Michael Andreas. Colorado law: theft from the person of another by means other than the use of force, threat, or intimidation is a class 5 felony without regard to the value of the thing taken. Yours goes even deeper because there was use of force. There was an actual assault on you to do it. So that's
Michael, thank you so much, firstly, because he's been an incredible supporter. He reaches out quite often and just kind of, same situation, not giving legal advice, just lending his opinion and maybe some resources for me to look into personally. Shout out to you, Michael. You're an incredible human, and I can't be more thankful for some of the conversations and information you've been able to lend and share my way. So appreciate you.
Have you seen Curtis since that day at all?
Since the day that happened, I think the same day, Poe. I think they put him on a plane that same day. Like he has not been there. There's not been a sign of him. There's been change in staff. It's just been a whole kind of restructuring. You see people go from, just all black attire, and they would come in that attire every day. It's not like, oh, today I'm gonna wear the vest. Tomorrow I'm gonna wear a cardigan. Like, it seems like they have to represent their post, like their level or whatever. So it's been odd. No Curtis though. I mean, I don't wish anything bad for him. I hope that this has given him an opportunity to gain some perspective on the things that I was saying. Like, oh wow, they do abuse the elderly. Like, I'm sure him getting reprogrammed shedded a lot of light to the things that I was saying, because it's not like he's just getting let off the hook. He like probably close to 80,000 people saw that over all the channels, like Aaron's, Natalie's, mine, like Down the Rebel, everybody that features that video. He messed up. He's getting reprogrammed, like security checked, every painful process in that organization he's going through, and he's seeing it firsthand. Like, damn, this sucks. Like, you telling me my commitment wasn't enough? I messed up once, and now like y'all are depriving me of like some basics. It's crazy. So hopefully he's able to gain that perspective and open his heart to what's out there. But yeah.
And that's something, and Canadian Girl was just saying you talked to someone today and they didn't know who he was, huh?
Yeah, that was crazy. I've come to know the staff members and the public Scientologists. It's no question to me who is supposed to be here and when. So when I see a new face, I already know that they have the potential to be open and have conversation. So I saw this new face. I approached him as cordial and nice and and as I could be. And he starts spilling the tea like, oh, I just got involved. I'm a tier 1 expediter. I needed a third dynamic in my life, and whatever. He was just telling me everything, and at the end of it, right before we split ways, I was like, "Oh, by the way, one of the staff members here named Curtis Johnson assaulted me. You should ask him how that went." Just to kind of like put something in his head. Wait, some guy out there said that one of y'all assaulted him. You know what I mean? And just getting
Right.
that conversation going. Wait, what'd you say? Come over here. We're gonna have to do some security check questions on you. Just getting him to see it for himself. Wait, I had a decent interaction with a young dude out on the street, and I'm in trouble. Like, Laura had put it a very a good way, and I won't be able to remember it right now. But they flip the script. Essentially, somehow they make it to where you know the conversation, or like, oh, that I'm being one to one. So I wasn't being genuine. That I was having a falsehood placed over him to be able to gain his trust. Essentially, so let me be nice. Let me befriend you. Let me gather some stuff for you, whatever. But then I'm gonna pull the rug out from under you. They try to make it like that, like they're actually lying. They're pretending to be nice or whatever. So
Right.
being one to one, I learned about that today. Kind of crazy.
And that's one thing that you find is that you have you're going to have Juan 23.
Yeah, it's good to see you, brother. I'm glad to have you in chat. I hope everybody's well this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever y'all are tuning in from. Replay crew, shout out to y'all if y'all are still here an hour and 45 minutes in, just about. Shout out to the replay crew as well. Public might not know Curtis. NKC Reese did not recognize the person I suspected of being the director of special affairs. Reese did not recognize the person. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't expect too many people to know him. Like, I really don't know what capacity he's like, what function he served in the organization. Truly, I've heard speculation. There's been, some information that's been put out by others who have been involved, like Aaron. He kind of blended his take, and apparently, he's got some people have mentioned to him that are credible that he was a Sea Org member. So
Right.
I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise me given how he had carried himself that day, and the actions he took.
We had a few people that were asking about, has anyone confirmed whether or not he is an org member? We don't know, but according to Aaron and he has some pretty credible sources that are saying that he is. So it's quite possible. I'm not, I believe he is, simply by the way he was dressed and all that, and then knowing Aaron and the people he talks to. So, but can we say 100%? No, we can't. But he's still part of Scientology, even if he's just a staff member. And I'm not saying just a staff member, but I'm saying a staff member, not an org member. Michael says he was wearing Sea Org insignia. So, I mean, there's a lot that would tell us that he is
he even had like the long-term commitment ring. So like there was the point where I broke it down like frame by frame and trying to gain some information on him, and he's got like dual rings on his what is it, the wedding fingers or whatever, and apparently they're like supposed to they're supposed to signify long-term service. Like you get them at certain levels of commitment, like of time intervals or whatever. So he has definitely been involved for an extended period of time, and I'm sure I don't know. I wonder if he's even off the bridge of total freedom. I bet not.
And like we were talking about earlier, I found it really interesting, and I think Chad can also relay that when we're down in Clearwater and they're having the LRH party at the Ruth Eckert Hall, tons of cars and buses going in. It's just a stream of them. But then when we got down to Clearwater, except for folks going in and out of Fort Harrison, you saw hardly anybody coming in and out of Flag down there. And I find it just absolutely amazing. You're not seeing the publics like you used to. You used to see a lot of public Scientologists. Now you're mainly seeing staffers and Sea Org. And that's I think that's a true indication of what's really going on with them. And
Right.
it's nice to see this drop in the number of people. And I think one of the things that's helping with that is that having folks like you out there who are constantly putting that right out there in the public's face, because most people look at Scientology and Scientologists. My personal experience, when I talk to people about it, they're creepy. They scare me. You're
Oh,
putting
yeah.
it out there, and these, it seems like a lot of people don't want to be, having themselves associated with it. They might be closet Scientologists for all we know anymore, but those numbers certainly aren't there like they used to be.
Right. And something I could say to that is, you don't need a nation to supply like a need. You just need the right people in that nation to supply the need. Like in terms of, you just got to keep the right people happy. And who are those people? The big donors, the celebrities that are giving millions of dollars of untaxed money. So as long as they're able to keep that dynamic happy, I mean, whoever comes and goes in the org as a public Scientologist, I don't think that is their primary focus. That's more of a function to keep them um, able to keep their beast working in terms of like on a government level and their taxation status and whatever. I feel like their actual presence is more of a front than it is anything else than that. Because I've even seen where the public Scientologists are going from public to staff, and clearly you were coming in casual clothing before, and now all of a sudden you are a staff member. And from what I understand, they're like kind of contract blocks from whether it's a 2.5 year or 5 year block. So you're kind of under a religious volunteer status for that contracted period. And yeah, it's crazy, man. I've been wanting to try and figure out if there's a way to accumulate the data across all the live streamers and kind of just start with that to see what the flow, like the traffic of incoming, like ingoing, outgoing, is like on like a weekly or whatnot. Kind of trying to track that statistic, but every time I try to think about it, it seems way too hard to kind of like actually um, gather like all the data. It seems like it'd be an extreme chore. Um,
Well, Crazy Reiki Lady, she was asking wondering if you think he's harmed people before. I think this is actually a new trend that we weren't seeing before. You would see them in mobs coming at people like at the airport and things like that, but you never saw like the assaults, the damage to property. I think this is a new thing that's coming up in Scientology, and you never saw these kinds of actions before. So I don't see anything that's given me any reason to believe that Curtis has been violent towards others in the past. How about you?
I mean, the only thing I could say to that is, he acted as though he's never faced consequences. So his
Mhm.
actions were that of though he's never been punched in the face. Like
Yeah,
he's never, faced the fire for his, his involvement with anything, whether it was, an interaction internally or, whatever. It just didn't seem like he's ever experienced those type of consequences.
well, I think that also plays into, if he is a Sea Org member, then that means he's dedicated and he's believing. So he's thinking that he is not accountable to the government or the authorities in situations like this. It would ring more to he's accountable to Scientology than
Mhm.
anyone else. So I can understand that. I mean, you look at the way a lot of them act and the way that they handle things, and there's this certain air about them that I do what I want. What are
Mhm.
you going to do about it? And
Yeah.
that's and Will Holland was asking, he was wondering about triggering a subpoena for the COS phone records in relation to the prank calls and the swatting. And that's going to play in. That's, we were talking about something like that earlier. What if they're using cell phones? Then you're talking multiple subpoenas over multiple persons, multiple entities.
Yeah.
It's those kinds of things. It's really interesting how all that plays out until you've actually been in there and worked in the legal field and seen how this stuff works. It's insane because I can tell you when you do a warrant, especially for a property, and this is a great example of just how in depth you have to go. If we were going to do, say, a raid on a home where we're going to be checking for illegal substances, I'm going to have to pinpoint where that home is, give exact locations, and nowadays you have to do all the Google mapping and all that. You have to say what's kind of house, what size the house is, what the color is of the house is, if it has fencing, those kinds of things. You have to give how many entrances and exits, how many first floor windows. That's literally just the beginning of it, explaining all that. So think about it. If you have multiple players with multiple cell phones, multiple just phones, period, and we have to go through all that and everything that you're going to have to do to be able to get that warrant for it, it can be hugely an undertaking and something like that. So, and I hate it that it's like that, but it is also part of what preserves your rights as a citizen in this country, is that they can't just go, hey, I want to get a warrant for Jay's phone. Why? Well, because I want one. Okay. Those are the kinds of those rules, those laws, those things like that are what help to protect you in those situations, folks. And that's what stops them from. That's why when you have the officer pick your phone up the first time you were swatted and stops your live stream and then starts going through your phone, my opinion, if I was a supervisor on that scene, the first thing I'd be is like, WTF, what are you doing? Why are you going through this person's phone? Where's your warrant? Where is your cause that gives you the right to go through the phone?
Yeah, because like even if they're just scrolling real quick casually, I mean, why even do that? Like, you are actively trying to pursue other information than what was on that screen. You were trying to find out more than what was presented. It's kind of crazy because every time I go to file a request, it's like, oh, this is under investigation. Oh, this is under investigation.
Yep.
The investigation is going to last for freaking what, 2 years, Poe? Like, what do you think?
That's a tactic. That's a tactic that's used, and we don't want to give out information on it. I can tell you, anytime that I've ever used that is legitimately because I don't want the person of interest being notified as to we're actually looking into them.
Right.
But others, like in the situation with what happened with your swatting and things like that, it can very well be a case of we're not going to deal with this. So we just say it's under investigation. And because it's under investigation, we can't make a comment. It's a common tactic. So let's see here. Michelle and Reese, they seem to be pulling the same fair game tactics. Live streaming has changed the game. Absolutely. I think that they're realizing that this is a situation where they cannot, it's all out there live. They can't come in and push their own narrative when it's being put out there live in front of the world. And Kendra Rowe, they have always been sleazy, but they usually keep their hands clean by hiring PIs to do the dirty work. Word is screwed up. That's, and you have the situation like with Chad and I, where we're leaving Flag into Fort Harrison, and we were being followed by people as we were driving back towards our hotel. And it wasn't, and honestly, it wasn't till probably a few days later when I'm sitting there and I remembered Aaron's video where he had the PI was parked in front of his home. I go back and I look at it and I'm like, that guy looks just like the guy that was following us. So, and that guy was a PI. So that's the
it is crazy, Poe. Like, I recognize some of these vehicles, right? And that lends into that PSTD or however you say, I forget, but or the anxiety. You recognize the vehicle. It's like, are you a Scientologist? You kind of look familiar. You have the same stickers. Wait, hold on. Like, you get paranoid. Like, what the hell? Like, bro, I'm not a person of interest. Like, get on with your life. You know what I mean? I'm not the guy. There's other fish. I'm not that guy.
And I'm the kind they're not going to scare me off. That kind of stuff doesn't work on me. It's too hard. I'm such a homebody nowadays. I don't what are you going to find out about me? Oh, he likes Angry Birds on Facebook. Okay, that's the kind of stuff you're going to find out from me.
Canceled.
He likes
Immediately
kids.
canceled right now. Just that easy.
Yeah. And Laura, so much love and support to you all. Thank you so much for all the individual care you give to the community. Absolutely. And Laura, shoot me an email. I put my email address out there. I'd love to talk to you.
Yes.
So
Laura's incredible.
Yeah, she is incredible.
I'd love to get in touch with you, Laura. I think just a chat and see where it goes from there. But yeah, I'd love to talk to you. So Jay, we're coming up on 2 hours now, and I normally like to cut it off about that point. I don't want to be running
brother.
everybody's night. But parting thoughts as we're getting ready to head out.
Be kind to each other, even amongst the communities, right? If you see something, say something. We're all strong enough to know what's right and wrong. One heart can know what's true. One voice can speak with wisdom, right? So with that being said, you don't have to be a moderator. Like, I just want to say this. Take it for what it is, but if you see something in chat that is not appropriate, I mean, I feel like it's not the end of the world to kind of like help community self-regulate each other, right? Because there's just been a lot of weirdness, like trolls, I guess we could call them, right? Kind of trying to stir the pot amongst the communities, and we need to be able to recognize those trolls and make sure that we are not giving them too much of our important energy, and maybe standing up for what we know is right and saying, hey, that's not cool. Don't talk to another person like that. Like, even if we're on the internet, you would never say that to them on in person or whatever. So just be nice to each other. Try to make somebody smile. If you haven't made somebody smile in a while, it's a powerful experience, guys. That reciprocated energy is incredible. So that's what I got for you, Poe.
All right, Chad, you got anything?
Yeah, Poe, this was great. If anyone wants to see Marty Rathbun get water splattered on his head, that's available on my channel, everyone.
Awesome.
All right, folks, as always, thank you all so very much for being here. This has been an incredible conversation. It's very important that we realize, and I think I'm glad you brought that up, Jay, is that you see something, say something. That's the big thing. Whether you're in chat, whether you're out there and you're doing a First Amendment audit of an org, you see a child being taken into an org. You see someone saying something in chat they shouldn't be saying. The whole purpose of this community is being supportive of each other. We have a goal, and that's stopping Scientology. But on top of that, we're building this community here of people that are supporting each other. We aren't judging. We are acknowledging that everyone's different and that we all have our own interests and our own things that we can and cannot do in life. And again, it's very important that you realize just because you can't be out there auditing, just because you can't be out there protesting, doesn't mean you're not doing. Supporting these channels, getting over there, hitting that subscribe button on Jay's channel, getting out there and, hitting the like button, commenting in the chats. All these things help to spread the message to that many more people. And Jay and I were talking before we started the live tonight. We were talking about the fact of, the more the merrier, how much we like that. Each and every channel is its own branch, its own fingers that are sticking out, and they have their own unique audience that watch them. So by having the multiple channels, crossing over with the channels and things like that, it helps this community to grow that much more. And we all need to be respectful. We all need to be supportive. And folks, our goal will be met. We've just got to keep plugging away at it, and we got to prove to them that we're not going to back down. And that's been the point of tonight's interview, is that we need to prove to them we will not let them run roughshod over us. And as always, folks, life is short. You get one shot. Make it count.